I will say this though. What I do think the church gets wrong is having the sex within marriage being a higher calling versus loving your neighbor.
Really good. Yeah,
I feel like people will pounce and persecute and damnate people for having sex, church specifically, like having sex outside of marriage, but then like you're still mean. Like these same people still do mean stuff.
But I'm pure, so it's okay.
I don't like.
Jackie Hill Perry, good gay girl, good God.
She's my sister's roommate, fun fact.
Okay, so she's like amazing and such an amazing teacher, but she really kind of shares part of her testimony that like they were happier, like her family was happier when she came out of the homosexual lifestyle. Like they were happier for her when she got married than for when she got saved.
Wow.
And she's like, there's something wrong with that when this is more valuable than this.
That's huge. And that's kind of one of the big things that we're talking about right now is like marriage as an idol.
Welcome to Adventures in One Love.
Woot woot.
I'm one of your hosts, Lydia, and this is a special series on singles. It starts with one, and so before there's marriage, there's just one person. Mm-hmm. And today's episode, we are talking about the idol of marriage. Yes. So, Alex, you and I have had some great conversations. If you got to see our first episode in this, The Expectations, we hope you enjoyed it. But Alex and I have been talking about this, and now we're talking about the idol of marriage. So,
right. So, great segue, Lydia.
Yeah, let's get in it.
So yeah, our last episode was we were talking about expectations of marriage.
Who are we talking with?
Oh, we're speaking with our friends. They just should go to the first episode and watch.
Go back.
So yes, my name is Alex.
Landis.
We have Landis here.
McKinney.
And McKinney.
Yes.
And we're just continuing this conversation, basically, but kind of moving on to like, we talked before about how growing up in the church and outside of the church shaped our ideas of what relationships and marriage should be. And then our hot topic, and it was a weird wording, the idol of marriage. And when I first introduced the idea to you, Lydia, you said idol, like a car, like it's just sitting there. And I was like, no. Like golden idol, like something that people worship.
I don't know if that was me, but yeah.
Okay, well, we'll say that it was
it was
some other person
Praise
that I was
the marriage
discussing.
gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, but I mean, you make a good point. Like people are like, what is an idol, and how would I make marriage an idol?
Idolatry, basically something so lofty, such a grand idea that, and I see it so much. Like there's just this idolization of marriage, and like it's all girls want. Specifically, like I went to a Christian college.
I'm talking to the wrong girls, clearly.
Go to a Christian college.
Yeah, I went to a heathen college.
It's the opposite.
You know? What up, Knights?
UCF.
You can finish.
You can finish.
Oh,
that takes on a different meaning in this conversation.
There's a lot of girls.
It really is.
I can't.
I mean, I went to Fools Fail, but you know.
So really quick recap. Landis is married. He is a newlywed. I have been married for 14 years, but we have a blended family, so I've been married before. McKinney is never married, and Alex is never married.
Correct.
And so when we talk about the idol of marriage, we're probably all going to come from a little bit of different perspectives. That's the point of this conversation.
Right. So yeah, my question to you guys is, have you seen marriage idolized, and when and where? Like, have you seen it idolized in the secular realm or the church? Do you think that marriage is an idol, or is that just like not a thing?
I'll ramble off real quick. This is the thing. So I was able to see it from the point before marriage and then now in marriage. Well, also now you're able to say the same thing. So before marriage, all I saw it was as that you need to be married. Like if you watched the last episode, we just mainly talked about how sex was involved in expectation. So I had that was one of the big things. So you see marriage, you see sex. You're just like, okay, cool. Okay, you want that because you're not having that before, or you're choosing to either stay pure, or even if you mess up and all that, you try to get back to it if you're in church, or even if you're not, you try to get back to it, and then this is what you want to do. So you see marriage as just this area where either you have sex and then you just have somebody with you, and that's all you really want. And then so even for that, it's just you're putting that idea before your relationship with God most of the time. That's when it becomes the idol, is when you're looking at it for that reason right there, instead of paying attention to focus on God and then focus on yourself, but also you want that to be something that you can aspire to be, and then understand what all that encompasses. But you don't know always, especially if you don't have good role models.
Yeah.
But then for me now, as in marriage, it was easy for me to try to keep that at the very beginning of it because that's what I knew, but it surely changed because I'm like that version of what I thought it was supposed to be and what I looked to and what I thought it was going to be and how I thought it was going to go and all those things. When that started changing, I was like, well, is this really what it was cracked up to be at first? But then I had to learn that like that idol that I had made it, honestly, because it really was an idol. I didn't think about it until we talked about saying this was going to be the topic, that it became a real idol for me. And then I had to reevaluate how to go about marriage and understand what marriage is and how to go about it.
Sorry, before you were married or while you were married, be made an idol of it?
First before, and then while I was married at the very beginning stage of it, my first couple months, it was still there, but I had to get out of that because I realized that wasn't what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, Landon said something that made me think of something in my head. One thing that always kills me is like, I really only see this with girls in the church, and like, I'm believing in God for a man, and this, that, and the third, and then
we're gonna talk about
it
that.
happens, and then like, what else are you believing God for? You know what I mean? Like, was your existence that shallow to where like, okay,
wow.
Like,
that's what I see a lot of.
Great point.
That's what I see a lot of, especially again in the church. This idea of like, okay, yes, the desires of your heart as a young woman should be a man or should be marriage, and then there's those few girls who it's like, well, it's not. So where do I fit? But then, I don't know. I feel like it's just like sold to you as this ideal, like, oh, it's so great and it's so awesome, and it's like you're praying for the one, you know. Especially having gone to a Christian college. I don't know if you guys have heard the Ring by Spring thing.
Oh, I heard about it.
So every time they joke, they're like, oh yes, come to this Christian college, Ring by Spring or your money back, because all the kids are so like marriage driven that they all want to get engaged and they all want to get married before those 4 years are up. And like the earlier it happens for you, the better. I remember standing in the bookstore with my big old stack of textbooks, and there was an entire rack of bridal magazines at the bookstore of the Christian college that I went to.
Smart marketing.
And I was like, this is ridiculous, because then you have those girls like me who it doesn't happen for. And like, if you're not careful, if that's what you've built your identity on, or that's what you've built, you know, my whole thing is I'm going to be a wife and a mom. Like, you know, I've heard that happen. I've heard girls say that. And I'm like, that's really noble. That is, if that's what the Lord is calling you to, then he's going to help, like, that's going to be fulfilled because you're following his will. But some girls believe that that's what God's calling them to because that's what they've been told to expect.
So I'm gonna jump in on that one, because I feel like the reason why I idolized, I made it an idol, not even realizing it. That's what it was, because I wasn't really living for the Lord. But my idea was, I am gonna have somebody who just loves me, and I just want somebody to love me. And then if I have other little people from this union, then they're gonna love me too. Like, I just wanted love, and because I didn't know the love of God, I was looking to get it through marriage. And so that's how it became an idol for me, because that was my source of like self-worth, because if he loves me, then I'm worthy of love. And so then, yay me, I should love myself.
It's a worth and an identity thing.
Right. And it wasn't until, and I'm gonna let you jump in on this too, but it wasn't until we had a pastor like, you know, Greg and I in this marriage, like pursuing the Lord and having the Lord in this marriage, that I had a pastor. Quick story, he was giving out prophetic words like after a class, and I'm like, we're at the last end of the table, and so he's going through the whole class and he's giving a word to everyone, and I'm just there like biting my nails, like I'm so ready for this word, because you know we're in a weird place and I'm just ready for healing and breakthrough. Well, the class is over and he's like, okay, see you guys later. And I was like, oh no, you don't. You're gonna give me my word. And then he proceeds to give me the word, God first, then your marriage, then your children, then your ministry. And I was like,
as in you prioritize your marriage above your children?
Yes.
That's
or
heavy.
even like God.
Yeah.
God,
And I was like, whoa, because here I'm in a blended family and I'm trying to keep my kids like not to be so broken from our divorce. So it's easy to get things out of order, and it's easy to make other things an idol when you are like, well, if I don't give him the attention that he needs, he's going to stop loving me. But now, because God is first in my life, I'm like, well, God loves me. And so I'm fully loved and I'm fully accepted as I am. I can love from a much healthier place when I have it in that order.
Amen.
That's
Amen.
good. I don't mean to jump over you, McKinney, but I have a question that I don't know if it'll be quick, but I want to know, do you think that it's easier for women to idolize marriage than for men?
Absolutely.
Yes. And I
Yes,
think,
moving on.
unfortunately, the idol can sometimes be, it's not the marriage, though. That's what's so sad. It's getting married and the wedding.
Yes, the wedding.
It's the wedding. It's the I'm a princess and all eyes on me and it's all about me and this is my magical day. And I'm like, you're going to have to live together after this. Like, I mean, I plan weddings. I help to create this beautiful event. But I'm like, if I see things, I'm like, we also do some premarital counseling on the side. Like, it's not all about this wedding. This is going to be like a couple hours and then it's a lifetime. And unfortunately, I think culture has conditioned women in particular that it's all about the wedding. And if the better the wedding, the better the marriage.
Now, I've definitely met guys who have made an idol of marriage, and that's a little scary.
So share
Let me
that.
name
Share
names.
that.
And show me the picture of these
First
dudes.
and last name is
What they look like.
No, share. Well, what does it look like?
It's just I saw how it became it went from a godly pursuit, like I want this because I believe this is what the Lord has for me and this is what I want. It's a good thing, to literally just having a checklist and every date being an interview and everything. Like, it's not fun, it's work. And then
I got to find a mate.
being frustrated when that didn't work, because that always works. But like, it was such a strange, like, he wanted, or they or whoever, they want marriage for the sake of marriage, like just for the sake of being a husband, because that's what they want to be. And I was like, well, that seems like an idol too. Like,
Yeah.
you're pursuing it, but why? What? Because it validates you. And again, it goes back to identity.
Yeah.
True. I fell into that category for a while too, because my upbringing. So trying to be better than my dad.
and you share in the
Wow.
first
Yeah.
conversation about the expectations, like, just be better than him.
Yeah.
So like, it became a quest.
Yeah. So it goes back to like identity. I also think of that verse in Genesis after the fall, when God essentially is like
there be
naming the
light?
curses that were
That
brought
one too.
upon them. Yes, a little bit after that, McKinney.
Landis felt my joke.
But like when Eve sinned, and God's like, now your desire is going to be for your husband.
Yeah.
And he will rule over you.
That's right.
But now what happens to all those girls who like don't have that? Well, now they want that. It's almost just like this natural drive. And is that a good thing?
And
or is
innate.
it, yeah, exactly. So there's that pursuit too, and that weird kind of thing. I don't know.
I think it all kind of comes back to shame and an identity. And it's like, well, if I want the sex without the marriage, then there's shame. If I want the marriage, but I really don't know how to do it, then there's shame that I don't know how to do it.
I want the title without knowing
there's
what
just so
comes
much
with it.
shame, I think, that the enemy like throws on us, that it's like, if I just put more work into this marriage, if I just do more, and I think that's how it becomes an idol, and I think that's how it gets out of order. The marriage comes before the relationship with God.
I also think that, like, depending on like what region of the planet you grew up in,
Yeah,
like, it's gonna
demographic.
change
I mean,
your
that's a cultural thing
expectations.
for sure.
Your
Yeah.
demographic and your group
Yeah.
and your circle, and then wherever you're at, located, you're right.
And
Right.
family expectations definitely going to change. I think if you're growing up in a divorced home, I hate the term broken home. Can I just say that? I hate that term.
Yeah.
But in a divorced family, or, I think that the shame that comes from that forces even like that marriage thing, like, don't worry, you'll get another chance to get it right. Like,
There you go.
Instead of like, well, maybe I just wasn't meant for marriage and maybe I should just stay single. I mean, if you get it wrong, like, ask the Lord, what does he have for you?
I want to say something that's contrary to everything I've said in the other podcasts.
Oh, please.
As you should.
Yeah, Lydia reminded me of something. A really close friend of mine, his name's Joshua Randazzo. And his
Let's
dad
name their
was
names.
actually.
Let's tell everybody who
He's a
they
good
are.
dude. He wouldn't mind me saying this.
Find him on Facebook.
His dad used to actually write music for Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
She wrote music for Whitney Houston and a whole bunch of other people, the Rat Pack. And
Nice.
was
Get
inducted into
it.
like the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And his family like isn't religious like at all. And he married his wife. He was 30 something and his wife was 18. And they had 5 kids. 2 of them have 2 kids now. And the funny thing is like, honestly, more than a lot of Christian people I know, have the most functional, happy, warm, loving family unit that I ever seen before, still to this day. And when Lydia was talking about like the expectations of marriage and the need to be loved, I felt like to a certain extent, that's okay. You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of value and merit in creating this community. And contrary to what I said in the other podcast, like the one thing I feel like is missing from church outside of marriage is consistent discipleship, fellowship, and proximity, which is why people miss a lot of this crap. But when you start a family, it's just like that is yours by default. You know what I mean? So you can get all of that consistently, pour into others and have them pour into you.
Instant community.
And stuff like that. Instant community.
Well, and not
You know
only
what
that,
mean?
because I
like
will
that.
tell you, and for the sake of time, you know, when we do we have couples fellowship, growing together with One Love, and we've had this group since we've been married, like a form of discipleship, couples fellowship. And the last time we went around, I think there was maybe 7 couples in the room, and we were asking them like, what is your greatest need? Every single couple was like, I'm lonely. Like every single person, not couple, like a person was like, I'm lonely. And I, you know, Greg and I, like we talked about it later. I was like, babe, but they have each other and they're still lonely. And it's really because like we just,
Dang.
that, you know, and then, but I think even just saying some of those things out loud, it kind of, it took the pressure off. Like, it's okay to feel off sometimes.
Marriage
it's okay that
isn't
it's
supposed
not
to
always
Absolutely,
cure
yeah.
that.
yeah, that
It's
doesn't
not a
mean that it's
cure-all.
broken or that it's bad. It just means it requires some work and effort. And so, guys, these conversations are necessary. Obviously, discipleship and talking about being single and being married the healthy way, God's way. This is a necessary conversation. So we hope. This has been like the super fast version, but
Yep.
we hope that you come back, that you check out the next episode, because we want to be the ones who are helping this conversation be healthy and be safe, to be like, I'm kind of messy. Like, yeah, you're in good company. It's okay to be a little
Welcome.
messy.
You're
So we
a
just
hug
want to thank
friend.
you for joining us again on Adventures in One Love in this series. It starts with one. We want to thank Landis for coming through and giving us, you guys are going to get to meet his beautiful bride
Yes.
in our next episode. So you can make sure to check that out, because he's a very lucky man. We want to thank McKinney for coming and giving different perspectives. Honestly, it's good that we all have something different and don't agree, because
Not so lucky.
We're going to pray for him after this.
but we do need to pray for
Get
him.
out of here.
Alex, I'm going to pass it over to you. I just want to thank you for initiating this conversation. I think it's so important, and I appreciate your bravery.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's been eye-opening these first couple episodes. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for what's coming next.
Amen.
So-
Well, thanks for joining Adventures in One Love. We hope that you like, subscribe, make sure that you share this video with somebody that needs to have this conversation. We'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions or something that you want us to talk about, email us at info@oneloveministries.org. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, it starts with one,
It starts with one.
and it starts with you. God bless you.